Evo drugi puta kada bude riječi o stanju na Bliskom istoku i u vezi te NAR sekte ili kulta. Pozovite Tihomira Kukolju. Evo, on je danas gost. Hvala Bogu, ima ljudi u Hrvatskoj koji razumiju o čemu se radi i govore o tome otvoreno. Tihomire, svaka čast i imaš veliku podršku od mene.
Between myself and Tihomir Kukolja. I posted part 1 of that conversation. So what's following here is part 2. The whole conversation was about what if Christian nationalists did win in America and got their way, like all of what they want. And it's pretty clear that there would be a lot of persecution that would happen. And what Tihomir and I were talking about, especially in the first part, was persecution of other Christians. That historically you can see that that's what happened. So this is part 2 of that conversation. So this second half here is specifically about people like the New Apostolic Reformation, that sort of wing of the Christian nationalist movement, the very prophetic sort of thing. And so Tihomir is going to talk a lot about that. And so that's what this is about. So this is part 2, and enjoy.
Yeah, I wanted to touch. Much can be said, believe me, believe me. As I was thinking about our session today, it just grows. But concerning those 2 articles that I shared with you, one could even think that I've written it yesterday. Only the names and cases revealed that I didn't, that it was written 2018. But in the same articles, I'm touching one. I'm touching one. Which I consider that we don't talk a lot about this. We don't see it as a threat yet, but I perceive it too. And in your very recent program, you actually have already touched an aspect of this. And what is happening when people abuse prophetic power. How manipulative it is and how it can destroy the lives of people. For example, this was at a time when just ahead of the insurrection day and the time when desperately some people wanted Trump to be your president again. And you had a situation where, for example, Paula White is having her prophetic session in her church, whatever, and she is walking up and down the platform, and she's calling for the angels from Africa, and she's speaking in tongues so that it can...
Ovo vam je duhovna savjetnica Donalda Trumpa. Katastrofa. Znači, žena se 3 puta udavala, mislim, ako hoćete da se pomoli za vas, $100,000 morate platiti. Evo, to vam je ta vrsta ljudi.
To look even more scary and more holy.
For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda ata ata rata teda baka sata ata ambo osa tata rite eke banda ata rite tidi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now.
Angel iz Afrike, čuju ovo, kakvi su to?
Empires that it somehow communicates with the heavenly realms in a way that no one else can do it, and then she goes back and says, angels from Africa,
Jer to biblijski?
She's summoning angels from Africa to come here to help maintain Trump as a president.
Osim ovi proroci.
For example. I mean, for people who believe in this kind of prophesying, this sounds very powerful. But in the name of this, all kinds of things can happen. Especially when we live in a culture, such as like under the umbrella of New Apostolic Reformation. They are not the only one. I mean, in many of those movements that are evangelical, until yesterday, fringe movements surrounding Trump, they share these kind of things, believing in a specific way in prophesying, in declaring, in claiming, in changing reality to what they are saying.
And by which he fills everything,
including the White House.
He doesn't just fill our church business, our churches, he fills knows. When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White
Katastrofa,
House
to su
grounds.
nama ispirali mozak s ovakvim smećem.
God walked in the river. When I go into the dry cleaner, that dry cleaning place becomes holy. I had every right and authority to
Znaš kaj bi ja
declare the
pitala?
Lord.
Kad si bila sa Benny Hinnom u hotelu u Milanu, u Italiji, kad ste izašli iz hotela i držali ste se za ručice, i Bog je tad isto bio s tobom, jel? A oboje ste bili u braku. Ma daj se goni.
As holy ground because I was standing there, and where I stand is holy.
And they say all kinds of things, and there is an army of those prophets. We are not talking about 1, 2, or 3, 5 people. There are an army of those, I would call them self-proclaimed, declared prophets.
Right.
Pa i piše u Bibliji, u poslanici, da će u posljednja vremena da će biti jako zla i da će si ljudi nagomilat učitelje koji će im škakljat uši prema njihovim željama i požudama. Znači, neće biti jedan, dvojica, nego gomila učitelja, nagomilat će si ih. To su vam ovi ke pišu knjige, knjigice, pozitivno ispovjedanje, La La Land. To vam je La La Land, koji nema veze sa pravim izvornim evanđeljem Isusa Krista i njegovih apostola, a ne ovih šarlatana.
Because I'm less generous than some other people. I don't want to have to do anything with them. I'm not even going to the list who among them might be a genuine prophet, and who might not, because I think
Nema
in
među
those
njima
environments it's
proroka
not
nijednog.
possible to have a genuine prophet.
Right. 100%.
And then you have those prophets, and I am giving specific situations in 2018 around midterm elections, where you have groups of those people from the New Apostolic Reformation, and they are going to the same seance, and they are declaring from heaven literally curses upon those who are opposing Trump,
Da,
and who are calling all kinds of things, how they.
Tihomir Kukolja, molim te, upoznat si, 100% si upoznat sa slučajem Alić. Riječ života u Hrvatskoj. Progovori o tome, oni su NAR. On se naziva apostolom.
They're going to be crushed and they're crushed, and you will crush them, and you will this and that. I'm telling you one thing, that those people given a chance, there is only a slight line of separation between speaking in the spirit or in the spiritual, as some of them would like to call it, and actually this becoming physical.
And I want to interrupt you there to point out that in your article in 2018, you said all of that. You talked about this language being used, this prophetic kind of language against the enemies of God, the enemies of Trump. And you said it will result in physical, or it has a high probability result in physical expressions of this. And you wrote that before the January 6th insurrection. But it resulted in the January 6th insurrection as you described them.
Da. To su njihovi plodovi.
If given opportunity, up to now they are still a bit restrained. But imagine this situation where they feel that the leadership of the regime wants them to prophesy some nasty things.
Glava kleči pred njima.
Imagine them prophetically filling the ears of some leaders of this country, that God wants them to do this, to go to this war, to go against this, to do this or this. This is why then I call this article, who knows what God is going to tell them next.
Da, baš
because of this. Because
stalno govore Bog mi je rekao.
They were coming then
vidjeli smo.
To declare the destruction of their enemies. Maybe at the time they meant that God would do it supernaturally. How long it may take till they realize they need to help God
Da.
to bring about that kind of destruction.
Da,
And
upravo
I
to.
believe those people are capable of doing this,
Da.
given chance and opportunity.
Da,
Or
da.
being the guiding mouth, prophetic mouth to those maybe others who would do it, but under their inspiration. You have Jeremiah. You have excellent illustrations what false prophets
Da.
are doing in a time of crisis. If we study the book of Prophet Jeremiah, it's not a new thing.
Right. And we know that they'll do it because they've actually talked about, as you shared examples in those articles of having to use force, having to use violence. We see the surveys that show that X number of people who consider themselves Christian nationalists say it's appropriate at some time to use violence in order, for true patriots to stand up for the faith and all that kind of stuff. So we know that they're saying it with their words, but they've also shown us with their actions that they will do this. January 6th is the biggest
Katastrofa,
example.
gle ovu
So
zastavu.
yeah, I agree
Jesus is
that
my
that is a
savior,
direct
Trump
I
is my
think one
president.
grace
Bože
that we
sačuvaj.
have right now is that Donald Trump doesn't believe any of this.
Da,
Donald Trump is using
Da.
them.
da,
And
da.
so I think it
Korisni
works in
idioti.
both directions. You're talking about the prophetic language, and how it can speak to it's frightening to think what they might say to a leader who listens to them. In this case, Donald Trump doesn't listen to them in any meaningful way, but it works the opposite direction, where they take whatever the leader's doing and they bless it with their prophetic words. And so they organize millions of people in support of whatever this leader says. But imagine if somebody who actually believes this stuff
Da.
becomes president. That to me is a chilling thought, because now you've
Pa to im je
got somebody
cilj.
who's from this movement and is
Teokracija.
listening to these
Teokracija,
people.
on je teo.
That's frightening to me.
This is actually the from my perspective, the scariest thing in all of this saga.
Neće
this
doći
story.
do toga.
Because the
No.
president is surrounded by those kind of people.
Right.
Very ambitious, very calculative, waiting for their opportunity and their time to come. Seeing their place as a stepping stone to that position. Maybe the safest thing is not to
Jedno od njihovih učenja je da će im po zaslugama Bog će im dati kakti vlast nad određenim teritorijem i određenim područjima. To su oni sebi zabrijali. Znači, u pitanju je vlast, moć, dominacija, tu nema ništa kristoliko. Isus Krist je došao kao sluga, prao je noge svojim vlastitim učenicima, nosio je križ, a ne mač u ruci. To vam je razlika između Krista i antikrista, onaj koji dolazi u ime Krista. Po plodovima ćete ih prepoznati, Isus vam je rekao sve.
I don't know to mention the names, but it's very clear that he is surrounded not by one, but by several people who have been
John
empowered
Hagi,
to have a power, who have never been
katastrofa,
elected
lažni
themselves.
učitelj, samo tako.
They didn't come here wherever they are now by the will of the
Zionist.
people. They came here by the will of one man, and I think who are looking for their opportunity, their time, and seeing present situation as a stepping stone, who I believe with pleasure would persecute. Not only their enemies, but also Christians who do not fit their...
Pa ja sam tužena na sud od apostola. Croatian apostle was suing me in the court. O čemu pričamo, ljudi moji?
Christian nationalistic paradigm.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm always saying I'm trying to wake people up. I want people to break out of their naivete. Another way that people are naive is to think, Republicans right now, I left the Republican Party because of all this stuff, 2016, but people who are Republicans and who say, well, we've got these Christian nationalist types in the party, but they're helping us to win. They're helping us to win. And the problem is when you have a party that now is really dominated by the Christian nationalists. Looking at the recent PRRI survey, it shows that. And if you've got that party, then the economy turns a certain way, and people vote in that party again. And now you've voted in some of these true believers, and all of a sudden, the naivete of just saying, well, they help us win, all of a sudden, you've put them back in power. And that's kind of where we're at with Trump. I just think, again, it's a saving grace that the guy believes nothing, and he's not going to be manipulated by them, but he is definitely manipulating the country through them.
I would definitely say, on the basis of what we have shared up to now, and the things we have not even mentioned yet, that these are the reasons why we need to jealously protect the model that this country has brought to the world of church and state separation. So this model of church and state separation is actually helping us, helping church communities, church denominations, church movements, whatever it is, are helping so that they can live and thrive in a free society. But at the same time, it's also protecting government too from the abuses that so often have come from the sources that should have never come, and this is actually from religion, and to be open and frank, in our case, from Christian
Lažni kršćani.
and Christian religion.
Lažni
I am
kršćani.
definitely personally supportive of jealously keeping church and state separated.
Amen. You're speaking my language on that all the way. And so let's just end here, because we're going to continue this conversation in a couple of weeks. And so I just thank you again so much, Tihomir. Every time you're on here, I just learn so much from you. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure to share with you and speak to your audience.
Yeah.
Evo ljudi, educirajte se. Ovo vam je njegov kanal. A vi, novinari, pozovite ljude kao što je Tihomir Kukolja. Zajedno sa ovim Borisom Havelom. Eto, pozdrav.